Welcome to our poster called Benefits and Challenges of Game-Embedded Telemetry Data to Examine Student Learning. My name is Chris Ingledow. I'm from New Mexico State University, and I'm going to hand it off to my colleague to start with the introduction.
Hello, my name is Ayman Al-Zaid. I am from New Mexico State University. We're presenting today the approach and tools that we use to collect and prepare the telemetry data. The game telemetry data is the raw data that is collected remotely from a different location for analysis, or to find out, for instance, how a user interacts with a game. So we will also discuss the benefit and challenge of using the embedded telemetry data for studying children's learning.
The game that we collected this data from is a game called Agronautica. It is a sandbox-style game that was developed as part of an NSF-funded project called MathSnack's Early Algebra. And the game was designed to support student learning of some of the big ideas of early algebra, like those that are discussed in Blanton et al. 2015's study. They follow a constructivist, inquiry-oriented approach to learning. And in this game, players are immersed in imaginative worlds where they are write numeric expressions, and based on the structure of that expression, they get to populate different planets with animals and artifacts and plants. And so it really is sandbox style game. The methods for collection, first of all, students would log into this game from their schools or from their homes and play the games. And the embedded code allowed us to collect data about what students were typing in, what students were clicking on, what types of plants they created. And this data was collected. We cataloged over 360,000 actions from about 576 fourth and fifth grade students that were in 28 teachers' classrooms across 10 different schools in a single school in the southwestern United States. And this was this poster that we're talking about here is part of a larger project examining the impacts of an intervention of early algebra on student knowledge, affect, and examining some teacher level differentials. So the larger study encompassed a lot more than just this game. And now I will head it over to Ayman.
For data preparation process, it is very important stage, as the data should prepare into a proper format before it can be used analyzed to ensure accuracy in the data, which leads to accurate visions. The data preparation process consists of phases of transformations and needs to be repeated several times. Although the advances technology of working with data today, each of these phases can consume a significant amount of time and effort. It is often agreed that data preparation is the most tedious and time-consuming aspect of data analysis. So preparing and cleaning the data was very tedious of the research team, and the most effort was spent for locating unique students, or matching up student login with student in the study to ensure accurate identification. And the second was fixing the time for action in order to later on to find out the total time that each student spent playing the game. And that was difficult because we noticed that there was a gap between gameplay actions And what we did is we defined a series of action with less than 15 minutes between any two actions. And this is the most things cause for the complexity to data preparation effort for this research study. And for the challenge, as I mentioned, the challenge was really for time consuming, and also this kind of data require a lot of pre-planning and preparing to ensure proper data format. And also the data sources are featured to make sense of student learning as a result of gameplay patterns, as well as the data need to be accurate, timely, meaningful, and complete. And of course, working with large amount of data require the skills from data science background to clean and analyze that are useful for uncover meaningful learning process. And as you can see for the table, we have for the raw data, we have about 10 attributes that has been collected, like the login name, number, the action number taken by a single login, and the time elapsed, which is we can have it since the beginning of current session, and as well as the important is the unique student ID number. In and out indicate whether the students are playing in a classroom or out of classroom, and the action that was taken, and the final one is the expression that was made by student. And for the tools that we used, depending on the preparation or the analysis that's being conducted, but we use some tools for this research study, like Microsoft Excel, PostgreSQL, JavaScript, R, and SPSS statistics software. And I will hand it up to Dr. Chris to talk about the rest.
So there's some really good benefits to thinking about using data like this. For one thing, it can provide a lot of great insight into student thinking and being able to document how thinking may have changed over time as they are going through different processes of typing different expressions in or clicking on different things, or the way even that they are using the plants and animals. It can support investigation of student solution strategies and their motivation for doing it. So if depending on what patterns that we might be able to notice in how students are placing specific plants, or if they're sort of methodically going through every plant that they can get, or if they get focused on a particular species of plant or specific animals, or maybe even specific types of expressions that they're more comfortable with using. What are their solution strategies and their motivations for reaching those? It can also help monitor and predict performance and track progress, providing potential for valuable formative information to teachers and researchers. At this point, we aren't sure yet how this would be most useful for teachers, but definitely on the research team, we're finding a lot of usefulness to this data in being able to try to predict where a student's knowledge might be based on how they're currently interacting in the game. It can support detection of learning patterns or trajectories and possible outcomes associated with them. So we can link student gameplay patterns to outcome measures. And also by being able to track that over time, we can hypothesize different learning trajectories based on that. And it can provide insight into student learning identities based on gameplay pattern analyses. So, what are the different types of ways that students are interacting with the game? And what does that tell us about the ways that they are currently most comfortable learning in, and where they are as a learner, and how they interact with the content of mathematics in this case? So, in the end, collecting and transferring and storing telemetry data from each student during analysis, extracting only the necessary data is what we've done here. But we should point out that the cleaning of this telemetry data was quite a difficult task and required a lot of pre-planning about what we're going to do with the data, and and a lot of data cleaning before we could even do anything with analysis. And we've learned a lot about how we can better prepare to collect this data in the future. Um, and even though there was such a huge task of cleaning and sorting the data and trying to um, um, sort of combine different data variables together in order to get what we really needed, the benefits are really great. They provide a lot of potential for understanding student learning processes, identities, tracking changes over time. And they have a great potential for great impact on teacher education and best practice around integrating great games into the math classroom, and as well as for future research and how to incorporate this kind of data into studies and do some thinking ahead of time in order to prepare for it. So we recommend future research on how telemetry data might be best extracted from underlying code and stored in meaningful ways to support analysis of student learning processes in sandbox style games like this. And of course, we also need to give acknowledgments to NSF for the funding that supported this work. Um, and also, here are our references. And we want to thank you for your time in watching our presentation. And please feel free to reach out to either of us should you want to discuss this with us. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.